Mr. Ang Wei Nung, next question, please.
Question 8, sir.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, from 2017 to 2021, agencies and town councils received a total of about 2,400 and 1,700 pieces of feedback about chicken in HDB and private residential estates, respectively. To mitigate the risk of avian disease and to safeguard human and animal health, we generally limit the number of poultry that can be reared on any premise on a non-commercial basis to 10. But for HDB flats, the rule is stricter and the keeping of poultry is not allowed for public health reasons and to manage these amenities. When HDB gets complaints about chicken rearing in HDB flats, we work closely with agencies to engage the flat owners to make alternative arrangements to rehome the chicken where necessary. Private residential owners who keep chickens on their property are also urged to do their part to minimize any inconveniences to their neighbors, such as noise and smell. Under the Community Dispute Management Framework, disputing parties can seek mediation at the Community Mediation Center, or in more intractable cases, refer the matter to the Community Disputes Resolution Tribunal. MParks will continue to work with our partners to raise public awareness on responsible pet ownership. MParks and HDB review pet ownership policies regularly to safeguard public health while balancing the needs of different segments of the community.
Mr. Ang Wei Nung.
Thank you, Deputy Speakers, and thank you, SMS, for the reply. I hope that ban of chickens or live chickens imports from Malaysia has not prompted more Singaporeans to rear more chickens in their homes, especially private homes. But during my home visit to a private estate in Nanyang, I definitely experienced an increase of the complaints. So I would like to ask the Ministry, can I just understand correctly, he said that, SMS said that there are 2,100 complaints about the chickens in the private estate as compared to 1,700 HDB, which means that, so you have more, you have 1,700 in the private estate. And I understand that currently we allowed the private estate homeowner to have up to 10 chickens in the household, right? I wonder whether the government is prepared to review the number so as to reduce the number of complaints about the chickens. And the second supplementary question is that how many of the complaints has ended up being resolved, and how many complaints ended up to go to the mediation centers as explained by SMS? Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, we don't track the number of chickens in houses. Just to clarify the member's question, I said a total of, over the last 5 years, as asked by the member, a total of 2,400 pieces of feedback were about chicken in HDB, and 1,700 total feedback over the last 5 years for private residential estate, just to clarify the point. Whether we see more chickens, I don't know. Personally, I haven't come across many of such cases. And MParks and HDB don't track MND doesn't track the number of chickens we have in residential properties in Singapore. About your case about whether most of these issues are have gotten resolved, I think many of it are actually between the neighbors, especially when you're talking about the chicken, feedback around chicken in private residential estates. We don't track how many has gone to the community mediation and how many was resolved through that process. But we understand that many of it is actually between neighbors, and we have, together with the local advisors, they actually come together and talk through the issues as a community.
Okay, I'll take Mr. Louis Ng and then Associate Professor James Lim.
Thank you, sir. I feel I should join this debate, but Could I just ask, on a serious note, specifically under what legislation do we ban the keeping of chickens in HDB flat? Because I do believe we've been challenged before, and I think maybe it's under the memorandum of lease that the people who buy HDB sign. But could I just ask specifically which legislation prevents this?
To Mr. Deputy Speaker, I think there are a few parts to that question that I think useful for me to clarify. One is really the role of MPACs. We look at it from a point of view about the public health concerns. As we know, there are diseases that can jump from animal host to humans, to zoonotic diseases, and these are something we pay a lot of attention to. And the other ones, from MPAC's point of view, is really about the welfare of animal, whether there are abuses, there are cruelty to animals, and those are things that MPACs look after. In terms of HDB, it's more specific to the HDB's memorandum of lease. Flat owners are not allowed to keep any animal, not allowed to keep chickens under the memorandum of lease in the flat or any part of the common area of the building, unless approved by HDB. And I think to add on to the point that I think Mr. Ng is also alluding to, instances of HDB residents keeping chicken in their flats are actually very, very rare. If HDB comes across such cases, please let us know. We'll work with the agencies to advise the owners to make alternative arrangements to rehome the chickens.
I think the last SQ on this, Associate Professor James Lim, please.
Thanks. I actually have two quick SQs. The first is to obtain the assurance from the SMS that the standard operating procedure is that the first resort is for mediation rather than slapping the violators with any kind of fine. And I mention this because I recall as a child going through experiments where you would hatch chickens from eggs and you would keep them in the flat while they grew, and we don't want to penalize young children, students who are conducting little experiments in this fashion. The second question has to do with whether the ministry has thought about what happens when there are community chickens, and in particular roosters. And I mentioned this because in Sengkang we had incidences or reports of community roosters, and as you can imagine, no one necessarily lays claim to these roosters. Does MPACS then intervene to assist the town council in managing early rooster crowing? Thank you.
A last word on the matter, SMS Tan.
Yes, I'm surprised there's a fair bit of interest around chickens today. On Professor Lim's first SQ, indeed, I think the very first, we don't resort to fines and enforcement penalties as a first resort. Very much often, if it's a community case, we do want to bring the different parties together, especially the advisors, with the grassroots volunteers, the leaders, and the neighbors who come together to talk about it and see how we can come to accommodation, especially about chickens rearing in private residential properties. And I think it's no intent to go after any students or anyone who has chicken at home, right? That's not the intent, right? I think first and foremost, I just reiterate, from MPAC's point of view, it's really about public health, safeguarding all of our health, especially come to zoonotic diseases, and secondly, whether the animal is treated well, or there's abuses, or there's cruelty. It's animal welfare. On Professor Lim's second SQ around the community rooster, perhaps I could seek a clarification from Professor Lim. I mean, just to understand a bit more where he's coming from, and the specific case he cited in Sengkang, because I'm not familiar with it. Is it something you are supportive of, to have the community rooster but better taken care of, or you're asking MPACs to come and do something about the rooster?
Just to clarify, in the end, as you can imagine, in a community situation, there are those that are pro-rooster and anti-rooster. As it turns out, in the end, the rooster was removed. But I'm wondering whether MPACS has standard advice for this kind of situations.
Just to clarify, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the rooster removed by MPACS?
I believe it was by the Town Council in collaboration with MPACS.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, thanks for Professor Lim's clarification. I think he reflects the the tensions that we all face as advisors, as MPs on the ground. Different segments of the community, different segments of our residents have different desires and preferences. And oftentimes, as government agencies, we do want to work with the local advisors, the local MPs, especially in this case, the town council, to see how we can amicably resolve it. And removing the rooster may be one option, but there are many other ways of finding ways of accommodating. For example, if it's about rooster crowing, some roosters crow even the sun is not rising, right? Assuming the rooster thinks that the sun rises before he crows. But it's really about also managing the noise by perhaps relocating the rooster, or maybe in some cases in private estates, in the homes, for example, we encourage owners to cover the pen with a cloth so that rooster don't crow or don't fight each other. So there are many ways around it, and I think ultimately the assurance that we give to our members of public and our residents is that we want to work together with them, different segments of community. End of the day, it's about our home, our neighborhood. We want to see how we can work together.
Okay.